So this first little presentation, I think I'm going to come back to that intro one in a few minutes. And I have combined chapters 1 and 2, so I'm going to stop at professional organizations and save that for tomorrow. But I have a video here I know we're going to watch. And there we go. Can everybody see it? Is it sharing screen for you guys? So some of the things that we want to get today out of this, and these are some of the questions you will see on your exam or your quiz. What do we know the background of the profession, of the radiologic technology profession? So radiation in medicine, being able to describe the discovery of x-rays. No, it's not sharing. Thank you. Just saw somebody commented that. So yes, that is not good. Let me get that to work. Forgot that I had took it off a minute ago. All right. So we want to kind of use this as a study guide for your quiz and exam, the explaining the use of it and the discovery of x-rays, terms that we would use in radiologic technology, the career opportunities that you're going to have, specialties in the department, some areas you could specialize in, responsibilities of the team, and other healthcare members that we would be interacting with, some of their roles. And then once we get into chapter 2, we're going to look at the organizations, regulatory agencies, talk about the difference between accreditation, certification, licensure, and representation of these different agencies and why they're around, what they do. So in radiation science, we use energy, which is X-ray energy, radiation, to create images of the body. And we're going to look at the EMS spectrum. This is going to get into some physics for next month's class that you're going to look at. And some of these energies can ionize human tissue in the body, and that's why X-rays can be dangerous. Ionization means it's going to add or remove an electron from the cell, and that could, when that happens, cause a cancer. So that's why we say X-rays are only used if medically necessary. So on the electromagnetic spectrum, we're going to see different energies. And so just basic physics. Energy is the ability to do work. We have mechanical, electrical, heat, nuclear, and EM, or electromagnetic radiation or energy. Some things on that spectrum are radio waves, microwaves, infrared waves, visible light, UV, X-ray, and gamma. Once you get to the end of the spectrum, X-ray and gamma, we're getting so high of a wavelength frequency that it can become ionizing or damaging to the tissue that it's interacting with. There's lots of things that have been told about microwaves could be harmful. Radio waves at certain frequencies, the 5G towers, sun is damaging, but not from the electromagnetic radiation side of it, not by the wavelength side of it, but by other things that it does. So it's a whole different physics when you get into talking about that. But when X-rays were discovered, this is a reenactment picture supposedly of the first X-ray that Rankin took of his wife's hand here on the screen. They didn't know that X-rays were ionizing or could harm you, but we know electromagnetic radiation on the scale, the EM spectrum, is X-rays, radio waves. When we talk about mechanical forms of energy, we can think about sound waves. We use that for sonography, for ultrasound to take pictures. We use electrocardiography to do EKGs on people, to use electrical energy to get a heartbeat rhythm on EKGs. We use thermal energy to do heat seeking and find people by their body heat. And we have nuclear medicine, nuclear energy, to make images. So different things, different energies are used for different imaging all across the board. This is the scale, or the EMS spectrum. There's a picture of this in your chapter 1, and it's, I think, this exact same image. I took it from there. So this is talking about how the wavelength is all the way up to this wavelength, and then the next line is the frequency of the waves. You do not need to know these numbers. I'm not going to ask you a test question about what radio wavelength energy in meters is, but you do need to know that on this side of the spectrum, the wavelengths are lower energy than when you get down here to gamma rays and X-rays, higher energy, higher frequency. So what that means is on the radio waves, you know we have AM and FM radio waves already. If you're listening to a radio station and you're closer to the tower, the FM radio station is going to come in good. But if you drive to Orlando, your Jacksonville radio station may not come in. That's because the frequency of the waves aren't able to travel that far. They're not strong enough. AM versus FM is even weaker. AM waves are really far apart in the wavelength on the spectrum. So the closer you are to the left of the spectrum, the lower the energy of the wavelength. On the right of the spectrum, as we go down, the higher the energy. And this little single area here is our visible light. That's a wavelength area on the spectrum. Whoops, my finger skipped it ahead. And that's just one small, why does it keep doing that, energy on the EMS spectrum, the visible light. Once you get to UV, past visible light into gamma and X-rays, you get into such high energy wavelengths that you can become ionizing. So X-rays is our first ionizing radiation, then we have gamma, and then cosmic radiation in space. Gamma rays are slightly higher energy than X-rays. X-rays range kind of overlaps with gamma. Gamma radiation is another technology that is used for cancer. They have the gamma knife that goes in and gets rid of tumors and things. So we use that small part of the electromagnetic spectrum, that X-ray energy, to create medical images. And this is an example of an X-ray table and a tube all set up for this little one to get their X-ray, and the tech is wearing this lead shielding, the child is shielded. We're going to talk all about that today and tomorrow, either on our live or in the lab when I show you all of this. So way back in 1901, William Conrad Roentgen won a Nobel Prize in Physics. He was the first person to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics. And this is his wife's hand again. That first known X-ray that he took was of his wife's hand. So we're going to look at a little video I have. I don't know, it's about maybe 15-20 minute video. It's actually filmed in Daytona, and I've always wanted to go there, and I say this every time I teach this class, and I have not went there yet. So maybe now that I'm teaching from home, maybe one day I'm going to take a drive there. We can do a field trip. I want to go there and see if it's still like it is in this video before I say we're going to go a field trip. So I need to do that. I need to make that a priority this month. I'm going to try to go there maybe after class or Wednesday after we get done. Let me just end the show for a second so I can copy this link. Oh, you know what? I had it opened. I think my computer closed all my tabs. Why is it being so... Still stuck on the objective slide. Also got to make sure it's going to let the sound work when I go to share this. Yay for technology. This whole internet thing here has been interesting. Ever since the pinning ceremony last week, I think they did something to my internet here. It was working just fine up until Thursday. Oh, there it goes. Oh, somebody's trying to get in. Eric. Okay, Do we see Eric in the classroom now? Didn't look like it let him in. There he is again. So it's I think this was on the Discovery Channel. It was a series on the laureates in history. So it's a pretty interesting series. If I can get it to let us look at it. I had it all pulled up before class started this morning. Everything gets erased out. So can you see the YouTube video trying to load? It looks like it's working. Next thing is sound. Sometimes it won't let you hear the sound. I have to click a button. It seems like it's not going to work. I guess I can just let you guys watch it on your own later, because it doesn't look like it's playing. This is usually what happens at school too, the internet there. Yeah, there's the guy. All right, so we'll give up on him. It's not going to play. It's not meant to be. So I will give you my interaction of what all he was going to say of what happened when Rinkin was inventing x-rays. And this is all in chapter 1 in your book. You could read it too. If you don't have the book, this is a recap of William Rinkin was in his lab working on the light bulb. Everybody can hear me okay? It's not freezing up? Good.
Yeah.
So he was doing some experiments, and he had this material called plutonium cyanide off to the side in the room, and he was working with the tube called a Crookes tube and energy. He was around the time Edison had invented the light bulb, so it was kind of that kind of era of inventions. And as he was doing his experiments, he was trying to see if there was a new form of energy coming off through the tube. So he had this anode, and he had the filament on the light kind of side, and electricity going through it. And as he was doing that, he noticed something glowing in the corner of his office. That material started to light up or fluoresce, and he started doing all kinds of experiments trying to see what was making it happen. As he was turning on and off his energy to his source that he was working with, he noticed it would happen. So then he covered it with a box and made sure everything was dark around the light bulb, so the light bulb wasn't lighting up or visible, and the material was still glowing. So then he started putting objects in front of it. He tried keys, packs of cards, different materials to see if it would still penetrate through and cause it to glow. And that's when he noticed a shadow of his hand. So he discovered this thing, and he didn't know what it was, so he called it X for unknown. So that's how X-ray was named. Now, of course, once he did his experiments, it was November the 8th in 1895. He kind of researched nonstop until he wrote his paper on this discovery of this unknown X-ray that he had been discovered. And then it took until 1901 for him to win that Nobel Prize. So not too long after he discovered it did he become acknowledged for it. So the discovery of X-rays was kind of by accident while he was working in his lab on the Crookes tube. in 1895. So you will see questions. It's kind of a freebie question on most of our exams on when X-rays were invented, November the 8th, 1895. And I guess I could look and see where the page is where that says it. Does anybody already see it? It's around page 6 on the history.
Yeah, page 6.
And then there's that picture of his wife's hand there. But the place in Daytona actually has a history museum dedicated to X-ray, has some old X-ray machines, a shoe fitter machine. I'm thinking I have it in this slideshow somewhere, a picture of it. But when X-rays first came out, it was like all the craze. Nobody knew what they were going to use this unknown X-ray for. X-rays were being marketed for golf balls, for everything. It was this cool thing, but it was also a scary thing. Women at the opera thought people were going to be able to see through their clothes and all these different things. So they first came out with the shoe fitter, which was where you could put your feet in it and take an X-ray, and the shoe salesman could say them shoes fit you perfectly. And then kids would come by and way home from school with their mom and dad and take pictures of their feet and take a picture of their foot home with them. And so they didn't know it was damaging or could cause problems. Not long after that, the fluoroscope was invented, and Thomas Edison is given credit with the fluoroscopy. The fluoroscope is to see moving X-rays. So that was a cool invention that could actually see people swallowing things, could watch them move their hands if it was broken, what was going on. So the fluoroscopy was a new invention that came shortly after X-ray that Thomas Edison was given credit for inventing the fluoroscope. So fluoroscopes, all you had to have was this Crookes tube, which was something that almost everybody had because of the light bulb being invented. So if you had a Crookes tube and you bought this through the mail contraption that was coated in that plutonium cyanide coating that would glow when X-rays were put between it, then you could have your own X-ray at home. So they were selling these, and of course you're looking through this container eye thing, like the little goggle game. What is it called that kids put the little picture in and you push the thing down and look through the light and see it? I don't know what the name of the toy is, but back in the 80s and 90s it was popular. It had little pictures on it. You stuck the little thing inside of it and you could look through it. Similar to that. So while you're looking through it, you're watching the X-ray of somebody's hand on the other side with the tube shooting directly at your eyes. So of course cataracts started happening, and they became acknowledged that X-rays could do damage. So they stopped selling those, and nobody was allowed to do X-rays at home anymore after they found that out. So it didn't take long before problems were seen from all these people using X-rays without really knowing what was going on. So shielding came not shortly after that invention, but kind of crazy that that was going on at that time. I move this so I can slide through my slideshow. Here's a picture of this cathode ray tube, the Crookes tube. Basically, one side has an anode, which is a piece of metal, and one side has the cathode, which is where the filament is that lights up when the light bulb gets energy to it. So it's a big glass tube. And whenever you heat up the cathode side, that filament has electrons that get burned off of it. As you're heating it up, those electrons hit the anode and X-rays start coming off of it in all directions. But typically we say we want X-rays to come off down that are going to go through our part to hit our IR, our image receptor, which in that case it was that material, that plutonium cyanide material coating, to cause the X-ray to be formed. So of course they didn't know 100% about the X-rays were going in all directions in the room. They were shooting up at the ceiling and sideways, and that still happens. But we'll talk more about the tube when you get into physics. But this is kind of a schematic drawing and a picture of what the Crookes tube looked like, or the cathode ray tube. So there is different radiation on that EM spectrum, but there's only ionizing radiation once it gets to that high energy level side where the gamma and X-rays are. And that's what we say makes them ionizing, their wavelength and frequency and energy levels. So radiation can be electromagnetic, and then we can also have particulate radiation if they get even higher. We have alpha and beta particles. So that's a whole different thing. Once you get off of the EM spectrum, you get into particulate radiation. We usually have you guys create a little, some kind of saying to help you remember it as a group, but I'm going to let you save that for physics class. If you want to start thinking of one, we're talking about remembering the order from the radio waves to microwaves to infrared to visible light to x-rays to gamma rays, trying to think of some kind of saying. You guys always come up with something pretty funny and cool to remember it, and I don't remember any of the past classes, but I let every class pick up a name of something. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find a mnemonic that will help you remember the order of the radiation. I don't know why we put it in this class, because you can do that in physics. We do this all over again in physics with the EM spectrum. So as a career path, and this is all chapter 1, there's also many avenues you can go on from just general x-ray. So you can begin with your RT, and then you can go on to CT, MRI, bone densitometry, mammography, quality management, interventionals. So lots and lots of different things that you can move on to and get paid more and advance your career. If you want to go on even further, you can become a radiologist assistant. And that is basically going in and doing the fluoroscopy exams and then going back and talking to the radiologist about your findings, and they would write up or you would dictate the report. Nuclear medicine, PACS administrator. Now with digital, that's the person who's in control of all of the digital imaging, making sure all the patient information is right, checking for quality of images from the technologist, dealing with any problems that come up with the computers and the system. So if you're into IT, that's a really interesting field you can get into. Administration, education, research, sales and applications and service. You could also move on into that side. So you know anything? Does anybody already know about some of those? I know I heard somebody's working at an MRI place now, so you probably know about what they do and that. You want to comment on that? Who was it that works at MRI?
I'm an MRI tech assistant.
Yeah. How do you think that's similar to what we do or different? Either one.
Well, I feel like you have to do it first, like, because without like just the general information of bones or anatomy, you really wouldn't know. MRI goes in more depth, so where you see not only bones, but the soft tissues and anything like that. And it's just, I don't know, it's just it's interesting. You get to see the whole types of anatomy, organs, muscles. It's just really, really cool.
Yeah, so MRI is a total different thing for physics-wise than X-ray, because you're not using radiation to get your image. You're using magnets and radio waves, so it's crazy different schooling that you need to learn that. And then the anatomy is a lot more in detail on the muscles and bones and soft tissue stuff. More in depth, more anatomy you need to know for sure. Anybody else? I know we had ultrasound. Who was that has her ultrasound place?
I do ultrasounds, but I just do them just for entertainment purpose, just for the gender and to take the 3D pictures.
Yeah, so that's the new thing, the 3D. The insurance usually doesn't pay for that, so people will go somewhere to just get the 3D imaging done. So way different than X-ray. Whole different way they get it is sound waves, non-radiation, so no damage to the patient's tissues or anything. Total different looking images. If you're not doing the 3D, it looks like a bunch of splotches, like a radio wave thing. You can't really make something out for people that don't know what they're looking at most of the time. You have to kind of point it out to them. There's the baby's head, and this is the legs. Sometimes you can see stuff.
I think it's gotten a little bit better now, because I remember when I had babies, it was very hard to see. But now these machines are so more high-tech that you can actually see the baby. I can put it on and people see right away. But then you have some people that can't see 3D, but they can see the 2D, and it's the vice versa.
So, interesting.
Yeah, it is. You see it all the time. They can't see one or the other, then you have to point everything out to them.
I know my 3D, when I had it with my daughter, she wasn't cooperating, so my pictures didn't turn out the greatest, but you could still see everything. It was still cool. Anybody else have any experience with the different modalities? Interventional or CT, or maybe you've had one yourself. You don't have to work in it. Has anybody on
I've
here
gotten,
had it? Yeah.
I mean, like, there's been times I've gone to the VA and gotten X-rays and gotten X-rays in the military. But like, I remember I had one done on my knee and I had to get in uh, it was just a big, like, kind of box looking thing on the wall, and it had like targets, and I had to like get in a certain
Squat down.
position to bend my knee in a certain way so they could take a picture. But it was cool.
Yeah. So which VA do you go to? The one here or the one in Gainesville?
I go to that one. I think I did it at Jefferson.
Okay. Because I
But
know the
I've
one in
been to the one in
Gainesville.
Gainesville, and I've been to the one in Jefferson. Then there's one at South Point.
Yes. Gainesville has a different room. Every single equipment room is different. I don't know if all the VAs are like that, but it's because they get a budget every year to spend and they buy new equipment or they get new equipment to test out. So depends on where you're working. It may be like that, or they may all have the same equipment in every room. But yeah, depending on what room you were in at the VA in Gainesville, the patients had to do different things differently because of the way the room was set up. One's like a C shape and it rolls over the patient, and one's a tube that you push a button and it moves in to the wall or the table for them, and one's just a chest room. So it's really crazy, all the different types of machines that you could see. Has anybody had an MRI and were claustrophobic?
Oh my gosh, I deal with that all the time.
I've had
So
one,
that
but I'm
is a
not claustrophobic.
scary feeling.
Well, a lot of people aren't claustrophobic, but as soon as they climb in that machine, depending on what they're getting scanned, especially if it's a brain or a C-spine, like they'll automatically be claustrophobic
Freaking
out
out.
of nowhere.
Yeah, I've had 2 MRIs. The first one, no issues. The second one, I started feeling like I couldn't breathe. I was like, heart started beating really fast. I made it through, didn't have to stop or anything. I just closed my eyes, and it was both for my lower back, but you're in the tube or the tunnel really deep,
Were
and it
you
was
in the
really hot.
1.5 or the 3?
I don't know. The first one that I had was a facility, a room. Like, I think that was the better one. The second one was a trailer one. So I think it
Oh.
was compact one. So it was one of those out in a trailer at the hospital, and it was like way different. I felt really claustrophobic in that one. But I know people that have to get medicated for it that can't go
Oh,
without a
yes.
driver. So you will
We have to
experience
definitely
that.
tell people to get medication all the time. I try to let
Yes.
people know beforehand. Like, it just so happens that our facility is the bigger machine, so it's a little more wider, and it cuts the time in half. Where if you go to like the Baptist, I know it takes like 45 minutes per scan versus ours, which is like 12 minutes. But it is definitely claustrophobic. We definitely tell people to get medication, and we actually work with CTs as well, which is a tube, but not near. It's faster, and we don't have a lot of people that have issues with that
Yeah.
one.
I think our book might have a picture. I don't know if it's a CT and MRI, but the CT is a circle that's maybe 24 to 48 inches deep. You're going through it, but it's not as long as what you go through the core of the MRI machine. MRI machine is like 4 foot sometimes. You feel like you're going in it really deep. So it is a different experience for patients, but I'll have patients who used to come in for CT thinking they were an MRI, and they're like, I can't do it, I'm scared. I'm like, this is different. This is CT, this is not MRI.
Is that the
It's
one where they play
for
the loud
patients.
music because the machine's
Yeah.
so loud? Yeah.
It like click, click, clicks the whole time. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
get
fell
earmuffs.
asleep during that.
How do you guys fall asleep during it? The music don't
There's
help
a
me.
few that do.
Very
It's the
easy.
cold
But then I
temperature,
twitch
and then like
sometimes,
yeah,
and they
and like
tell me I have to redo it or something
If you
because of
move or jerk,
the
yeah.
image or something. Yeah.
Yep, if you have motion. So some different names we're called: radiology, X-ray, medical imaging, diagnostic services, imaging services, or just imaging. And I've had name badges that Human Resources makes our name badges, and some people in my department would have medical imaging and some people would have radiology. I guess it depended on who put the thing in and what they decided to put on our badge. But mostly we're just considered imaging anymore. The whole round of everything in radiology. We work with a variety of healthcare members, and we're considered the healthcare team. We are considered allied health because everybody just thinks because you're wearing scrubs, you're a nurse. You're either a nurse or a doctor. If you're a guy, you're going to be considered a doctor. If you're a girl, usually you're a nurse. I don't know why that is, but we work with physicians. We work with nurses. Other allied health besides x-ray would be the lab, the phlebotomist, the respiratory therapists that go in and do the breathing treatments and oxygen and all of that. So we have all kinds of different support members. We have non-clinical side, which is the cafeteria workers, the sanitation workers that come in and they change out the whole room, clean everything down before a new patient goes in. So most hospitals are a community within a community. So you have your little cliques. RT's is one big family. Then you have your little nursing group and cliques, but the surgical team is a big clique. You go to the OR, there's the anesthesiologist, the scrub tech, the nurse, the doctors that are together, but we don't fit into their group because we're in and out. We're not there all the time. So we're kind of a guest when we go to the OR. Unless you work at a place that has an x-ray tech dedicated to the OR, then they're okay. They're part of the clique of the OR team, but anybody else from x-ray that comes in is just a guest. So it's really weird how you'll see that when you get to the hospital. But we need to make sure we know that we all work together for the best benefit of the patient, and keep that in mind. Even if the doctor or the nurse might be having a bad day, we got to go in there and communicate and work to do the best care we can for the patient. So conclusion, wrap it up, questions that you might see on the test from chapter 1, main points. When were x-rays discovered? The different diagnostic areas that we can use our energy on that EMS spectrum. So we're going to be talking about sound waves with ultrasound, radio waves with MRI, radio and magnetic energies. X-ray is going to be using the X-ray part. And then you can go on further down this spectrum and talk about gamma rays for gamma radiation imaging, and nuclear medicine is also radiation, but in a different way. So we'll talk about that more in depth when you get into physics. We'll talk about how images are created with this radioisotopes in nuclear medicine imaging. We work together with different members of the healthcare team, different areas of the hospital, the physicians, the nurses, and the other allied healthcare people. And you want to know that we have lots of different career opportunities that you can go into and be able to list some of them. So easy, hopefully. And that's it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to get into chapter 2, which is the professional organizations. I'm going to take you in the lab, show you around, let you touch the tube, move the tube, see the IRs we have, talk about shields and things that are important to us for radiation safety. And we're going to do library orientation tomorrow. So busy day tomorrow. See you guys on campus at 8 a.m. We're not leaving yet. Just want to go back to the course for week 1 and review a couple of things there. Under week 1 folder. The PowerPoint that I just showed you, I do not think I uploaded it. I left the other one from when Ms. Stelz taught. So I'll put this PowerPoint that I just showed you in the PowerPoint
It's actually on
folder.
there.
Oh,
it's
this
on
one
there.
is?
I was just following along, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So medical terminology, just look through your medical terminology book. I think the chapters are going to be listed down below for homework in a minute. You can see that. This is all the things we're doing this week that'll be on your test. So homework Monday. Let's look at that. This is going to be really what we did today on our discussion post. We introduced ourselves, whatever you want to write on your introduction, anything you want to let your classmates know about you, and then just comment on 2 of your classmates. So whatever you want to say for that, for your homework. Look at your medical terminology book and your patient care book, become familiar with the layout of it, and bring your books tomorrow. I guess we would say to class tomorrow, since we're not doing live tomorrow. So nothing due that you have to turn into me. You can do that Blackboard post. I actually think on Blackboard, I put that the replies and everything is due by Friday. So kind of go on and do your intro. And if you want to do the replies today, you can, but you don't have to have it done till Friday.
I actually saw like I think a bunch of us already did our introductions, but then when I went back on there, they were gone.
That was from
Okay.
a previous class.
Yep.
Oh, those were previous classes?
Yeah,
Oh,
so the
okay.
old classes was there and I deleted it. So if anybody did
Oh,
do that
okay.
yesterday, repost because there's nothing there today.
Okay, all right. I didn't
Okay, and
notice
before
that.
we leave, we have to do our post test. Our pre-test. Pre-test. So let me find where that's at. I think I have a folder for quizzes and homework under week 1.
For
So that's
the
where all
quizzes,
your quizzes are going to be. Yep. Okay, here's medical terminology for week 1. So I would say do a few today, and then do a few tomorrow, do a few the next day. So you can chunk it into little chunks so it's not so much that you're trying to remember every day. So these are
And
your week 1.
where is that under? You said that's under week
the
1?
week 1 folder.
Okay.
Just scroll down, you'll see it. I think it's right after all the days. Oh, and we want to
okay.
look at our project. I need to talk about that. So before we get into the exam and quiz folder, because it's got a password, I'll tell you in a minute. Let's look at the project for the class. In the project folder. So you're basically writing a letter to me, a Dear Miss Love letter. The rubric looks like it's hidden from you guys. I'll have to fix that too. You're basically going to talk about what brought you to the program. Why did you choose X-ray? Talk about your life experience and what you feel that would help you in this field, what you already have experienced in life. Talk about some things that you probably feel like are going to be harder for you and some things you think you're going to excel at. Talk to some students about that, about their experience in the program. So some of the senior class members who are been where you are, and you may get some words of wisdom from them, may find a study partner person to reach out to if you have any questions in doing that. So we'll make a day for you guys to talk to them. It'll probably be sometime week 3, since next week is super busy for us. I'll probably make it Monday or Wednesday of week 3. I don't know why it's being so slow. All right, is it still sharing my screen? You can see this?
yeah.
So here's your requirements for that paper. You want to download this. This is 50% of your grade for your project. The other 50% is doing the lab comp. You're going to go in the lab, and I will give you a sheet that is what we're going to count and look at for you to be able to do. So here it is, actually. These are all the things in the lab that you want to be able to know how to describe and do. I may not make you do all of them. I think it'll be 10 of these 17 things, and you'll have 10 points each. That's the other 50% of your grade for your project. So I will double check this. I just realized she didn't take the students into the lab the last time. She just had them write a description of all of this stuff. You do not have to do this description. You're going to actually do it when I tell you to move it or whatever, or tell me what this is. So basically, you don't have to write about it or describe it. You're just going to physically do it in the lab. So I'll edit this today and take it off of where it says to write it. All of this that we are doing now is going to help you when you get into positioning classes, so it's not your very first time touching a tube when you're having to go in there and position for a chest x-ray. You already know how to move the tube around. So all this class is getting you is to move the tube. Next month, you'll do the same thing. We'll have you in the lab some, and we'll also have you doing some exposures next month, so you get to actually take pictures in your physics class. So half of your project grade is the paper. You're going to write about these 5 things. What do you plan to do after graduation? What do you think you're going to be the most apprehensive about while you're in the program? What's your thing you might be enjoying the most? How have you come this far in life? What do you think will help you that you've done already that you think will be good? And the reason you joined the program. So you can organize that however you want into a letter. You are going to give me a reference with these who you talk to, these students, and have them noted in your paper. So if you talk to, trying to think who you guys might be talking to, Lena from cohort 43, you would say, Lena from cohort 30 or 43 said the most difficult part for her was physics class or the competencies, and I think I'll be good at that. That will suffice for your referencing them in your paper and how you feel like you would connect with that. So any
Quick question.
questions? Uh-huh.
Oh, yes. So for the paper, when we have to reference a previous current student, is that for every bullet that you have there, or is that just one aspect?
Just one aspect. So not every bullet, no. So you'll
Okay,
somehow
and
integrate the 3 people that you talk to into it somehow.
into the full paper. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
And then as
And
far as
I'm sorry, go ahead.
as far as that, you'll just have a second page with a reference. And this is to get you started in APA formatting, that you did a personal interview with them.
Mhm.
That's who you got the information into it. This is not required as part of a business letter, but if you want to figure out how to reference them afterwards at the end, you can submit that page for the interview part. And we'll have a person from the Library of Learning Commons tomorrow talk to you. I'll make sure he knows that you guys are going to need help with this. I think we got a new writing studio person. The other one used to have this already printed out for you on how to do it as a reference. I don't know if he has it or not. I haven't talked to him about this assignment yet, so I need to do that today. And then if you have any questions on that reference when it comes time, he'll help you. You can ask me and I'll try to help you, but I try to put it to them because that's what the reason of this paper is, and the APA is so that they can be able to help you guys. That's one of the reasons we do it too. And also to get your degree, it's a requirement. The Gordon rule says you have to write so many papers. So lab part, fun part, paper part, not so fun part. So you'll write this little paper. You'll present that on project presentation day. You do not have to stand up and read your paper. We don't want you to do that. We just want you to talk about what you put in your paper. So that's up to you how much you want to share. Some of these people cry. Some of these are like, you tell your life story of what brought you here. It's up to you how much you want to share. If you want to write it in your paper and not share that part, that's fine. But we don't want this to be long, even though it could be very long and interesting when you're thinking about what brought you to this in your life. So we want it to be 1 page, no longer. So super condensed down. Then when you go in to talk to the class for your presentation part, you can go into more detail and talk more if you want to. So
is it 1 page or 2 full pages there?
So 1 page paper, the reference page is separate. So two pages total turned in, yes.
Okay, so one's like the meat,
The
and
letter.
then the other page is the references.
Yes.
Okay.
But we have some students whose letter goes on 2 pages, and we want to condense it to just 1 page. Short, sweet, hopefully. Jump back over to the post-test, pre-test. I keep saying post-test.
I'm sorry, one
And-
more
You said that
question
'cause I was confused.
before you go to the pre-test.
Yep.
For the medical terminology exercises, I'm just looking in the book here. Do you want those like on a separate Word document, like the
Good
answers
question.
or whatever?
You
You
could
have to
do
do.
that. If you don't want to retype it, since you're filling it out in your workbook, you can take a picture and use that tiny scanner app and upload it that way.
Okay.
So you don't have to type it.
Okay.
Ooh, my ears are popping. And then somebody else have a question about that too?
Just, I guess not really with that, but like with the quizzes, if we're taking a quiz a day where we're on Kaiser Live, do we have to do that thing where like we have a
So
camera
I
recording
am not
ourselves?
going to do my quizzes with the video. I'm only going to do my exams that way. So your quizzes will be ready for you to take in the morning and open at 8. Yeah. I just got to edit this because I had it closed out at 9:30, so I need to open it back up for you.
And this pretest counts?
No, no grade on the
Okay.
pretest.
When we do the quiz, you said it like opens the day, and if we were in class, we would do it right when we first got there. Do we like do the quiz and then hop on Kaiser Live, or?
Yes, so good question. Our Kaiser Live will start, so I'll give you about 30 minutes to do the quiz. So we'll start at about 8:30 for the live. So if you do your quiz really quick, then you'll be ready to jump on. Good question.
Tomorrow, how are we taking our quiz? Is that on live?
It will be on paper, probably.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so I put the password as button, BUTTON. So I better make it last longer than that. It's already 11.
Is that case sensitive?
Is it case sensitive for the button? I believe so. So all lowercase. So it should be there now if you hit refresh under the quiz folder. And then let me know if you have any issues. And then after that, you guys can log off. You're done for the day. Thank you. Nice meeting you guys. See you tomorrow at 8.
Okay.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.